Hey, what's up, friends and family? So a little bit of a late video, but nevertheless, it's here. Wanted to talk about this Australia media law that was passed. So apparently it's a new law that will require Google and Facebook to pay for news. So if you are like me, you've pretty much been alive and access the internet, and you've had Google pretty much all your life. You don't know life without Google and the internet, right? And the same thing for Facebook, pretty much. I started using Facebook when I was a freshman in college, and I'm dating myself, but hey, that's how long it's been around. And the great thing about them is they're able to aggregate the news. So before, when you'd have to look for like the New York Times or the Boston Globe or the Washington Post or the LA Times or, Philadelphia Inquirer, you had all these different news sources, and those are big papers, right? And then you talk about some of the smaller regional papers around the country or around the world. You would have to find them. You have to go out there. Well, Google and Facebook, they said, hey, we can aggregate all these things. The only issue was, apparently, if I'm understanding this correctly, is that while they aggregated it all, they weren't really paying these companies, these publishers, for the content. That's basically sort of like what I'm doing right now. I'm reading this article from CNBC and I am gaining views from it. I'm, getting some sort of tangible benefit out of it, and CNBC is not seeing any of that. Fortunately for me, I'm not a big tech company. I'm just this little guy doing, a daily vlog or whatever you want to call it. With Facebook and Google, these are big tech companies that Australia and many other countries as well, such as the UK and Canada and France, see these big tech companies as taking advantage of a lot of these publishers, a lot of these media players. And part of me thinks there might be some force from these media companies that is saying, hey, we want our fair share of whatever Google and Facebook are making, so make this a law. So who knows who's lobbying from, like, Rupert Murdoch's side, or, some of these other big companies. So this new law is now in effect, where basically there's an arbitrator, the treasurer in Australia will be able to make sure that there is basically compensation for these publishers, and they'll check back in a year to see if it's been working or not. But it's just interesting to see how they are trying to finally start to put some bounds on these big tech companies. And it's interesting that it's also at the interest of some of these big publishers. I'd love to know what everyone else thinks about this, because as I read through it, it just sounds like there's a lot of different competitive interests, anti-competitive interests. So basically, if I can just take some of this. So both Facebook and Google have actually fought against this law. It says essentially Australia will become the first country where a government-appointed arbitrator can decide on the final price that either platform will have to pay Australian news publishers, provided a commercial deal cannot be reached independently. So Facebook and Google can go out and strike deals independently all they want, but it still has to be fair. So they're also going to have to go and talk to, maybe the little mom and pop, publishers in some random city or state or county, and somehow strike a deal. And if a deal's not struck, then that might hurt those people. So I still feel like there's still not equal playing ground. I just feel like the big tech companies, Facebook and Google are just going to strike deals with big media companies at the end of the day. Now, so before the law passed Parliament, both Australia's competition watchdog and Facebook described this week's moves as a victory. Former UK Prime Minister Nick Clegg, who is now Vice President for Global Affairs at Facebook, explained that Facebook's decision in a lengthy blog post. The final tweaks made to the bill was a face-saving exercise, this article says, for both sides, but mainly for Facebook. They said, having said that, the final call to apply the code or not rests with Josh Frydenberg, and he's the treasurer. He's been the one that's kind of pushing on behalf of Australia to make these things. He explained that while Facebook could decide to drop the news feed from Australia again in the future, it would reflect badly on the company's brand. So again, I just think it's an interesting article trying to hold some, put some fire to big tech companies' feet, and we'll see what happens with it. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty interesting article to see how things are progressing in the big tech space and trying to get wrangle them in. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace out.